Welcome, my friends, back to the Hidden Place. My name's Renee Mayers, and today we have a special guest on the show, my dear friend, Miss Rachel Mackenzie. Rachel just recently published her first book called Becoming Rachel, and there is another one in the works. I'm very excited for her. And Rachel is here today to speak to us about her experience of her inner healing that the Lord brought her on in her hidden place with him. It's very relevant to what we're talking about, and I'm just so honored that she's with us today. So welcome, Rachel. So good to
Thank
have
you.
you. I'm so excited to
Thanks,
hear what you have to
Renee.
share.
Oh,
So,
this is amazing.
yeah, you've been through such an amazing healing journey. When I read your book, my jaw hit the floor numerous times with what you were sharing. I couldn't believe the depth of healing that God has brought you on. So why don't we just start out and you just share, what's on your heart to begin sharing with what that healing looked like for you when you were connecting with him.
Yes, amazing. Thank you. Um, there are so many things that you could talk about healing, but one of the biggest things I think that impacted me as I was walking this out was trusting him in the middle of the hurting, because healing requires some hurting. And it's
Yeah.
hard for us to go back there almost and revisit those wounds. And so
Hmm.
I full on went into a secret place where it was just him and I had to face the fact that in the midst of walking through the healing, I felt alone, but I had to be alone with him. It's not a journey that anyone else, no other person can walk through it with me. It was just him. It was just him and
Right.
I. And in the midst of that, I realized I needed to give him permission. I needed to be able to say yes to where he was going. I didn't even know the depths of my wounds. I had to ask him to find them for me. And so, in that, there's a level of trust that he gave me, which was so amazing because it allowed me to press through. It was the feeling of pouring salt on wounds, right? Where you go, this doesn't make sense. This is contradictory. Why does it hurt so bad if I'm actually walking through healing? But because he knows how to heal, because he made me, he's able to walk me through the pain of it to the other side. And the trust part was what kept my feet on the path and kept me going. When we can't see the other side, when we are only in the pain and we're only walking through the journey, it's so hard to see what's waiting for us. But
Right.
he's able
Mm.
to see it. He's able to keep our eyes on
Hmm.
the prize, basically,
Hmm.
and keep us walking forward. And so one of the big things was I spent time alone with him with my journal. And I wrote so much. I processed so much through words. And in that, it was that he was showing me how much he is with us in the pain. Not only with us in the pain of the moment, but he's able to show us how he's with us in the pain when it happened. So he was able to take me
Yeah.
back and show me where he actually, his ability to transcend time, when he was on the cross, he felt every wound that I would receive later. He has already walked through it, and yet he actually chooses to walk through it again with me as I'm walking out the healing. And that was what showed me how I had to be alone with him, but he
Hmm.
actually showed me how I was never alone. Not then and not now. And that was
Wow.
huge.
That is
That was
huge.
huge.
So can you just give our listeners a context for the wounds that you're talking about? Because a lot of them obviously wouldn't have read your book. It's brand new. It's just out. It's very exciting. So can you just give us a brief snippet of your history and so that they can understand the depths of the healing that you're talking about?
Exactly. My healing was very layered, very multi layered. The reason being is that I was born into the occult and literally the world, the kingdom of darkness. So I was raised in a family that was not my own biologically, and I was raised and trained to be a weapon of the enemy for his purposes in the kingdom of darkness. So the wounding that comes is not only from rejection, deep rejection, because I was not even in the place that I belonged. I didn't have the family that would feed into your heart. I had a family that would bring hurt and pain. And it was all disguised and it was all hidden. So it was very deceptive and very twisted. And that also is a hard part of the wounding to deal with is how deceptive it is. But I also went to satanic rituals. And so everything that you can imagine that would happen in the kingdom of darkness to inflict pain and suffering, to bring control, bring manipulation, and to have people execute the plans of the enemy were things that I walked through. And so I was broken apart in extreme dissociation, so fragmented into a couple of thousand parts. So that's a lot of extreme trauma and extreme pain. And so I was one body with several thousand different personalities and names and ages, and they were all pieces of me. And so the healing part that he had to do was when he put me back together. I liken it a little bit to Humpty Dumpty, fell off a wall and had a great fall, and no one could put the pieces back together again, but the king can, right? Not the king's men, not the horses, but the king, the one who made you, can knit you back together again. But that journey took me through, I want to say, hundreds of layers of the depths of the pain I actually felt and couldn't put words to. And
Mm.
so it had to come off layer by layer. He couldn't take me to everything all at once. The healing journey of actually going back to the really deep wounds and the things that actually happened to me and all of those memories, he had to do over the course of probably a decade. So he had to take me there little by little. And as my trust grew and my permission grew to allow him to take me to those deep places, then I became more and more myself, because he walked with me into those places and he changes it. He actually changes the situations for me so that I can look back without the sting of the wound and just see
Mm-hmm.
where he was. So
Mm-hmm.
it's extreme brokenness, and it's extreme, I even had extreme amnesia. So on top of the brokenness, I had no idea what had happened to me. So he had to take me back to those things little by little, because he's so gentle. He's such a gentleman. He would
Mm-hmm.
never burst in, but the more I gave him permission to go deep inside, the more he took me to those places. And it was a walk of trust.
Right. And I love the fact that I just love the fact that he waited for you to be ready and he waited for you to give the permission.
Yes.
Because, as God, he could do it all in one shot, right? But he's always so concerned about our faith. He's always
Mm-hmm.
so concerned that we see him in truth for who he actually is in the healing. And so you would have experienced pieces of him and aspects of who he is. You would have experienced pieces of him and aspects of who he is in that journey, that would have been so powerful for you that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, right?
Yes.
And that's what's so
Yeah.
wonderful about when he doesn't heal instantaneously, although he's more than capable to. I have experienced that. I know he's able to. But when he doesn't, it's because he's like, come deeper into me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show you more of how amazing I am. I want
Yes.
to bring you into a deeper level of friendship and intimacy and trust,
Yes.
even in the midst of the pain. And then you see how lovely he is and how kind he is and how gentle he
Yes.
is, right?
Yeah.
And
It's so true.
yeah, and you've experienced that at such a deep level,
Yeah. It's
such a
so
deep
true. You
level.
have to be able to walk through the process, because I realized the process for me was where I grew. If he
Mm,
had done my healing instantly, I would have never grown. I would have never grown into my new skin and who I actually was. I would have bypassed all that. And I wouldn't have, like you said, met him in those ways that was so unique to the process if he had done it instantly. I would have been grateful. I would have gone on changed, but I wouldn't have had the depth of the intimacy with him if I hadn't stayed in the hidden place and in the secret
and
place
then,
for
yeah,
as long as it took. And it's hard when you don't know how long it's going to take.
right?
That's the trust factor.
I know.
When you don't know how long, it's so much trust to just say, I know that this is for my good. I believe, because you've said this is for my good and you know
Hmm.
it all from start
Hmm.
to finish, that I can trust you with it.
Hmm. Yeah. It's amazing. I love your story. So why don't you just we need to finish up here for time, but
Yeah.
why don't you just give us a quick snapshot about what your book is about and all the any other interesting projects you're involved in right now and what's coming up?
For sure. That's the best part. What's coming up?
What's coming up?
So my book is called Becoming Rachel, and it is titled that for a very good reason. I didn't grow up under this name. This was a God-given name. When I came to the realization that I needed freedom and deliverance, he gave me my true name and said, that is who I am as he made me. And then the journey of walking that out is part of the book as well. So I go into detail of what I grew up in. I go into detail of how it all started to unravel and fall apart, which led me to the realization of I need out, I need freedom, I need healing. And it also journeys on though after that to show the healing part and what I had to relearn and how I had to become Rachel and the person that he created me to be. So the book goes from literally my childhood until about a year ago. It actually covers all of that expanse because it's all part of the journey. And so the next book that's coming out is called Truth Leaks, and it's a collection of the poetry that I wrote as a teen, which is actually how my parts started to leak the truth of my life to me. Without my knowledge, they started to write in poetry and they started to tell me about what I was living in the darkness that I was unaware of. And so there are some poems in Becoming Rachel, but I wanted to share the full collection of them. There's about 190 in a poetry book that would give people an insight and an example of what the power of being able to write out things that are deep within you that you might not even be able to put words to and realize later just how much they meant, just how much truth and revelation there was in them. And so that one is coming in the spring of 2023. And I'm just starting to also get into sharing some creative writing workshops because I love words and I love sharing the passion of words and the impact of words with other people because it's meant so much in my life. I love being able to ignite the fire within them to be able to journal or write or do blogs or whatever it is that are their dreams. Words have a power and an impact and a legacy, and I love sharing that with people. So that's a little snapshot of what's coming
Awesome. And
and what's happened.
where can people find your book?
Oh, yes. My book is available on my website. It is rachelmckenziebooks.com. And Rachel is Rachel. Mackenzie is Mckenzie. Books at, sorry, not at, .com. And I have an email on there as well if anyone wants to reach out to me. But yes, my website's rachelmckenziebooks.com.
Fabulous. And it ships worldwide. So
It
anyone
does.
listening
And
to
there's an
this,
ebook.
and there's an ebook.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're international listening to this and you want to read more about Rachel's life, feel free to access that. Thank you so much, Rachel. We're out of time. Thank you for being on
You're welcome.
the podcast today. Always love hearing your story and talking to you about it. And we really appreciate it. Well, folks, that's it for today. So if anyone needs that link, I will have it in the podcast write up. So go ahead and access that. And if you're interested, make sure you buy Rachel's book. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much. Bless you, Renee.
You too, sweetie.